I'm Marc Dresner, and this is Inside Clinical, a special interview series featuring experts and leaders at the forefront of drug development, clinical research, trials, and operations. Inside Clinical is produced by the Partnerships in Clinical Trials Conference, where clinical decision makers meet to innovate, foster relationships, and accelerate science, now in its 23rd year. Joining us today is Tomasz Sablinski. He is the founder and CEO of Transparency Life Sciences. Tomasz, welcome to Inside Clinical.
Welcome, Mark.
Great to have you. Tell us a little bit about Transparency Life Sciences.
In short, I can say that if you think about what you know about clinical trials and you turn it upside down, that's what Transparency Life Sciences is. Secrecy, we are transparent, that's in the name. Small, narrow groups of people designing experiments, which clinical trial is. In our case, it's crowdsourcing, broad, open to the community of contributors that we're building. And finally, instead of making patients go to sites where they are being measured, we bring machines and devices and tools, digital tools, to where the patients are. So this translates to three pillars that transparency has been founded on. Transparency, which is not enough to repeat that word, open sourcing, and telemonitoring.
Let's focus on the open innovation part of this. Why take an open innovation approach to drug development?
The short answer is because it makes sense. The longer answer is everybody is familiar with open sourcing or crowdsourcing today, even though many people do not realize how familiar they are. If you use computer today, which most people did, or smartphone, most likely you use the most successful open source product ever developed to date, which is Linux operating system. Totally open sourcing concept by software engineers. Chances are you used Wikipedia in last 24 hours. Again, community wisdom created and curated to design what is superb source of knowledge, and as you know, surpassed traditional media. Encyclopedia Britannica, I think, went out of business because of that. Now, if you think about, if you move it to clinical trial space or healthcare space, you can see, when I said make sense, it makes sense. Patients, physicians who treat these patients, so-called key opinion leaders, statisticians, regulators, they all are asked to contribute to our clinical trial protocols. Why it makes sense, particularly in this area of our activity, is because I can hardly think of anything more important to everyone and all of us than our health and new drugs that we can develop more efficiently, and obviously, because they will be developed more efficiently, hopefully reducing price when they get to the market.
How does the crowdsourcing aspect work?
One myth about crowdsourcing is that you just put something on the web and people will come and give you genius ideas. Fortunately, when we were launching our protocol builder as a platform and the other platform, which is called Indication Finder, we had already a lot of knowledge of how the system works from other areas of the industry. The crowd needs to be curated. And curation is the right word here, because you don't want to manage it, you don't want to restrict it, but curation means that you need to channel tremendous energy that exists on the web into answering questions that you want answered. So in our example, in Protocol Builder, and by the way, you can see it, everybody can see it on transparencyls.com website, because everything is open to everyone to see and edit if they are willing to. We broke down the clinical protocol into a set of what we call challenges, and these challenges address specific questions that are important for clinical protocol. Inclusion, exclusion criteria, demographics, endpoint, primary, secondary, how you measure, and also importantly, we asked patients in particular, what monitoring devices they are using in monitoring themselves, either as a part of healthcare services, and as you know, it's a very rapidly growing area, or as so-called self-quantified movement, where people measure a lot of things, and they gave us very useful feedback. And that's the curation. The curation is done, we have a little bit separate set of questions for patients, a little bit different set of questions for physicians and researchers, although they aimed at this answering the same challenge, but you have to phrase it a bit differently. Yeah. And the curation is done on our end by an expert for experts, and so physician particularly knowledgeable about this area, and patient curation is done by a patient, who is our patient advocacy member of Transparency Life Sciences team, herself a chronic disease sufferer who understands very well how patients' communities work and what's attractive to patients in those.
That's incredible. It's a really revolutionary approach. How receptive has the stakeholder community been? The physicians, the patients,
right.
Everyone.
So I can quantify that feedback by giving you some numbers, and this was all done without any special marketing. It was all viral and some pickup by the media. We've had about 21,000 visitors on our website. Close to 1,000 people registered as contributors, which means that they are giving us their email address and some basic information about themselves, indicating that they're ready to help in this particular protocol or design or others. And the protocol that we got an approval from the FDA to execute was designed by about 70 patients and about 30 physicians practicing in area of multiple sclerosis, including some key opinion leaders from all over the world. So that's the number, and it's obviously quite scalable, and it's not thousands, but we have to scale it. And we believe it's very scalable. In terms of direct feedback, it was nothing but excellent. One interesting aspect of open sourcing or crowdsourcing is people give you not only feedback on what you're asking about, but also on the tool that you're using. And they say, well, what if you try this? So it really truly is a community type of enterprise, the design, and it's been very successful in our minds.
Everyone talks about patient centricity now in trial design, and this is really taking it to a very special level, I think. Can you share with us any anecdotes or examples of how the approach has changed the game?
So obviously, we have to be modest, and we haven't changed the game yet, but I think we've opened up the floodgate to change the game.
Yeah.
One particular, so you're looking really for a breakthrough in how this thing works. So early in the process, when we asked for contributions to our multiple sclerosis protocol, we had an email from a patient who thanked us for this and said that he participated, there was a patient from Canada, participated in 6 or 7 clinical trials in multiple sclerosis. And he said, I was never asked if I liked the protocol. I was just given a piece of paper and sign or not sign. I was never given data from these trials. I don't know if the trial was successful or not. And he copied on this email to us his physician, his neurologist, and said, doctor, next time when I'm in your office, let's do this protocol builder together. So that to me is epitomizing how big of a change it is. Because not only you will have a patient sitting in front of the computer and answering a set of questions designed for a patient, but if they do it together, you're really looking at quite new quality of feedback to protocols. I think that's the best anecdote that I can give you. There are more, but this is to me quite telling.
That's wonderful, and it also seems to be fostering better communication between the patient and their physician, and at the same time. So it's sort of a win-win-win.
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
you can see it this way, and obviously as you expand this, you can think of creating a certain. It may be VPN protected chat rooms for patients and physicians participating in clinical trial, to even ongoing clinical trial, the ongoing clinical trial changes. Although one has to be careful with this approach, not to introduce bias and unblinding. So there are new challenges in doing it this way, obviously, vis-a-vis doing it legacy way when no one knows anything. But patients communicate in clinical trials anyway, without sponsors knowing about it. So if you curate it and actually channel this energy to your advantage, there might be new qualities.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. Tomasz, thank you very much for sharing this with us, and congratulations on your work.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
It was great having you. And that concludes this episode of Inside Clinical. I'm Marc Dresner. Thanks for joining us.